Hey TFB TV, what's going on? Today I'm again with Corey. Thanks very much for coming out here.
Not a problem.
Absolutely. And today we're going to talk about the bazooka.
Yes.
So this isn't a live bazooka. This isn't a historical bazooka either, and it isn't a deactivated one. But it is a very faithful historical representation of what an actual Second World War bazooka would have looked like and even functioned like. So we're really just bringing it out here, and we can really appreciate the historical significance of it in the Second World War among American troops. And Corey's going to tell us about the bazooka in the Second World War. Take it away.
So this is the M1A1 rocket launcher. So obviously it was the second pattern of the main rocket launcher that they built. Interesting, the name, how they got the...
It's from a musical instrument.
Yes. Bazooka Joe Burns he's a radio man. He created his own instrument, named the bazooka, and it looked an awful lot like this. Basically just a piece of pipe. Like I said, this is the M1A1. The main differences are it has the shield and the wire wrapping. And as I was telling you earlier, I met a veteran at a reenactment once we had this out. He looked at this and he said, we didn't have this shield and the wire wrapping. And if you looked really close on his ear, chunk of his ear was missing, and there's a giant scar on his face. The problem was, these bazooka rounds, sometimes they would either get stuck in the tube or the powder would just dry out or something went wrong, and it would almost blow up in the tube. The powder charge would go off in the tube. So he was the reason why they added this extra reinforcement on.
At the beginning of the war, this was an issue.
Yeah, right around North Africa. Right.
Now, just to be clear, there was the M1, the M1A1, and then the M9A1?
Yes, the M9A1 was a later war variation. It was longer than this one, still fired the same general type of round, but it actually broke in half. So it'd be easier for paratroopers and other specialized troops to carry around. So its main rocket, this is actually technically a 2.36 inch if you want to get technical, but this is a rocket. So the powder would be in here, and this is actually a shaped charge. Make sure the clip is contacting one of the fins, pull out the wire, contact it to one of the posts, tap your gunner on the head and say ready to fire.
Okay.
And away it goes.
So interestingly enough, this is a very complicated rocket drill. You have wires being clipped to each other. You have, the round has to be placed a certain way. Mm-hmm. You have to make sure that your finger is off the trigger, yes, or else the second that wire contact is made and the finger's on the trigger,
yes,
the round is going off in your face.
Right. This is an electrical system, so there's no safety on this thing at all.
So there's a light bulb on the other side of it. Tell us about that.
So the light bulb on the other side just tells you that the system is working, make sure all the electrical system is working. It's very, very simple, but it can be broken easily.
And it was always left on in World War II.
It's only on if the trigger's pulled. So if you pull the trigger and the wire's broken, that means either your battery's dead or you don't have a connection somewhere. Something's broken.
Absolutely. So what kind of rockets were used?
Most of them, they were just armor piercing. This was basically the infantryman's only personal defense against tanks.
And how well did that work during World War II?
Pretty well. I was actually just reading they were testing on a Panther tank. They could penetrate every spot on a Panther tank except for the front armor. It penetrated through the turret. The turret armor could go through. Had a little difficulty with that, but it did it. Could penetrate the engine compartment, mm-hmm, take out the engine. Now, in Saving Private Ryan, you see them aim for the treads or things like that. Aiming for the treads is not actually that profitable because, yeah, you may knock off a tread, or the round may just go right through one of the bogies. Mm-hmm. Okay, you knock off the tread, that's great. You still have a 70-ton, 40-ton behemoth shooting at you.
It would be a mobility kill at that point.
Right, mm-hmm, but it's still very, very lethal at that point. Yeah, the wheels and tracks are not profitable targets. Pieces may be blown out of the wheel or tires cut, but the possibility of stopping the tank is remote. Upon the front armor, it's difficult to get an effective burst, as the slope of the armor will ricochet the rocket. So the front armor of a lot of tanks was sloped. Gives you extra beef to it.
Yeah.
And because of this pointed nose, it would actually just glance off. Later war ones, they did have a rounded nose, so you could actually hit it more straight on.
Tell us about the sighting system on it. It's extreme. This whole thing is extremely rudimentary.
Right.
I mean, when you brought it out here, I thought it was a lot more advanced, mm-hmm, than what I've seen in the movies and in pictures. Mm-hmm. But no, the whole thing is actually
very simple. Yeah.
You can construct this whole thing from Walmart.
Yeah. Actually, in the training film, the original 1940 whatever training film, they're in a junk pile, and a GI walks up to this junk pile and pulls out this thing that is just a piece of pipe, and then it morphs into this rocket launcher.
That's funny.
Yeah, it's hilarious. As far as the sights, so the rear is just a little
An open peep sight.
open peep sight. The front, you've got 100 yards, 200 yards, and 300 yard post. And there's no windage. It's Kentucky windage. To own a rocket launcher today, you either have to be deactivated or you have to have a destructive device license, and that's a lot of paperwork and a lot of stuff to go through, and just good luck finding one.
Yeah.
I have not seen an original one of these for sale. For reenacting, it's nice to have one of these. So what this is, it's just simply tube, and we've got an electrical system. Now this cannot fire a real rocket. I will stress that to the day I die. It cannot fire a real rocket, and I don't want it to. There's a steel bar in the middle, make sure nothing can actually go through it. But what we actually do is we fire pyrotechnic charges with this using black powder at reenactments.
And that's good enough. It's just for the display portion of things,
just
right?
to show the smoke that would come off of one. So you would find out where your target is. You preferably, if you can, take cover. The loader would put the nose of the rocket in the tube. He would flip off the safety pin.
Yeah.
Pull it out. Insert the rocket the rest of the way, making sure the clip is in one of the tail notches here. From reenacting, we always ask, make sure that that little light is off, because this trigger can be a little finicky sometimes. So the loader always asks light off, the gunner confirms light off, and then hook up the wire, tap the gunner on the head, and make sure the back blast area is clear, and you're ready to go.
Well, thank you very much for watching, guys. Really appreciate the viewership. We'd like to give a shout out to Proxybid. They're a firearms auction website, and they really help us support the channel by helping us out with things like cameras and recording devices and allowing us to film great pieces of equipment like this. Like, although it's not an actual M1A1 bazooka, it is a facsimile of one, and it really helped us learn and appreciate about that little piece of Second World War history that we don't have anymore. Until next time.